What's going on, everybody? We're making some changes with the way we do our intros and whatnot. So now you get to see a cold open. Tonight we have Rye and Tom from the Lost Frequency podcast. And I'm a big fan of them. I'm super excited to have them on. And in about 35 seconds, we'll let them talk.
The truth is out there. Never stop looking. Never be sheep. Always disrupt. We are the ungovernable. We are the truth seekers. We are Sasquatchers.
So, joining us tonight, we have Rye and Tom from the Lost Frequency podcast. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. I'm a huge fan of your show. I've actually talked about it a couple of times on our own episodes. I think even last week I had brought you up, maybe on the most recent episode. So I'm really excited that you guys came on. I discovered your show after we started doing our own, and one thing that really struck a chord with me is, I'm not sure if you guys have followed the paranormal podcast scene over the last couple of years, but for a really long time, it kind of died off, and basically you had people with sound effects all the time, and almost narration style only. And I grew up super into Art Bell and the long form storytelling. And something that immediately jumped out is that that's how you guys roll. It's all conversation. You let your guests talk and you get into things. And it's the bells and whistles that kind of attach themselves to the paranormal scene. It's not present with what you guys do. So I like that presentation style a lot. So I just wanted to, start the episode with that because our listeners also kind of come from that.
I want to say, I definitely want to say thank you. That's a great compliment. And
I don't think it was a conscious decision.
No, it's just kind of we went naturally. And strangely enough, though, I was thinking it crossed my mind about that, whereas maybe if I do a one-off where I'm just recording myself, I was thinking maybe I would do that. I don't know. It's a lot of, in all honesty, it's a lot of extra work. And we're just I'd rather just edit it normally and just be done instead of adding all that rigmarole into it.
I also think if you're having discussions with these people who are having cryptid encounters or paranormal encounters or UFO encounters, a lot of that's a very personal thing. So why would you make it all zazzy? You're trying to connect with the people on a human level. And if you're going to be all ping ping pow, that's morning zoo style, I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's better to connect with them the way you would speak to them at a bar. Hey man, this thing happened, and you just listen.
Exactly. I agree. One thing I did like doing though in the last couple of episodes was we start sharing pictures or videos or information that they have, but it's not like me adding stuff in or putting any sound effects in or anything like that. I agree. I actually agree with you. It's kind of more a human level. We don't want to Hollywood it up.
But the occasional fart noise would be fun, I guess.
Yeah, good. A solid soundboard. That's a different story. We had some fun a couple of weeks ago with a soundboard with one of our guests. He had this setup that I can only dream to have someday. But yeah, that's just for the longest time. The paranormal podcasting just died off, and I just found myself listening to only Art Bell reruns in past episodes for years and years. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to set out to make the show that I want to listen to. And then I found your show, which is one that I want to listen to. So it's great. And I want everybody to
thanks, dude.
Check it out. All of our Sasquatchers. And so I'm curious.
Well, we appreciate that. And all our Lost Frequency listeners and watchers, go check out Sasquatchers.
Yeah, go check them out.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Are you guys on the roof right now? Are you guys still recording on the roof?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
we're on the
We're
roof.
on the roof.
Yes,
Yeah.
that black is the night sky.
See, for any of our listeners that might not be familiar, they record on the roof, and they are centered in Mexico. And the roof has kind of become a character of the podcast in its own right. And there are sometimes you hear like buses and fireworks, and it's just something that some people might get annoyed by, but I just kind of have found that I love
or horns,
the
just like
atmosphere.
that.
Right. So I appreciate that the people of Mexico are participating.
It was kind of
in the
out
show
of necessity
right now as well.
too. We were like,
Yeah,
it was kind of a necessity. We didn't have a space, so for saying we were like, hey, we're gonna get this podcast, and Rye was, he's moving in here. He's like, okay, we'll just do it on the roof. We got
we tried a bunch of different locations. We tried in the kitchen, and it's so echoey because we're still filling out the spaces, let's say, so there's not much
noise cancellation.
Furniture for noise cancellation or anything like that. So we even went downstairs I have like this one room that I'm going to be putting a water filtration system in, and we're like, let's try this. And because it was pouring outside, and it's so echoey, and we just find that the best acoustics are up here on the roof. And
we're hoping eventually that we'll have some type of podcast space. I guess we'll have to pipe in those sounds from the outside.
Yeah, we'll do some recordings, record it, and just have it like on a soundboard.
We just go directly outside the wall, and you'll hear it come in. Yeah, it's a loud place.
Yeah,
if you're not used to it, it's a very loud. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a character in its own right. So it's something that I appreciate every time I hear it. At least I don't know about anybody else. So
how long, Andrew? How long have you guys been podcasting? I'm sorry. How long?
Too long.
Podcasting.
This show is relatively new. He has a different podcast he's been doing for a while. I have had several attempts that just through various reasons never really worked out. But we started in mid-September for this show. So we're a couple of months old, and it's
awesome.
For some reason it struck a chord. It's been the one that everybody has kind of jumped on, and if you have the right partner,
that's great.
Be surprised what all you can accomplish versus the times that failed. Yeah. See,
I don't do shit. I just show up and look pretty.
I agree.
So now we know who's who in the podcast. The guy at the bottom, Andrew, is Rye, and JC is me. Hi, JC.
Hello, Tom.
Well, he scored us one of our coolest guests. So for that reason alone, I give him a little more credit than he gives himself. If I didn't have my neck surgery, I probably wouldn't have been able to put as much focus on this as I have at this time. So I kind of got lucky in that sense. And I am a chef out of college. So moving forward. Sorry.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so moving forward, like
that's a double thing right there. Turning lemons into lemonade, and you're also a chef, dude. That was.
Yeah. But you guys started your podcast last June or July, something around that effect. I guess
April. Yeah, in April.
Okay, so yeah, I've almost caught up with every episode.
Yeah, I think it was.
There's definitely.
I think it was the. Sorry. I think it was the end of. Oh yeah, for sure.
If we remember,
fire away.
We'll try to remember. We're sorry. I'm gonna say that in advance. Because there's been times where I was just hearing a podcast the other day where some people were talking about that. And I was like, right, that was our podcast.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, yeah.
it literally was the podcast we released on Thursday. We were talking about that. I'm like, I heard a guy talking about like these abductions and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, that was us. Like, oh shit. And we just did it again with Juan. We had Juan from One on One podcast on last week. that episode will be coming out in January. But yeah, he was like, "Oh, I was listening to your one of your episodes," and I'm like, "What? Which one?" And we both were like, "What? Did we say that?"
So if one comes up and we don't remember like all the details, I mean, we're only like with 30, almost 40 in.
Yeah.
And like, anybody, all our guests out there, we're sorry in advance, but we love you.
Yeah. Speaking of past guests, Matt says hi. I was talking to Matt. As the last name Emk, is that how we pronounce it?
Hey,
yeah.
Matt.
Yeah. He said hello. I was chatting with him earlier today. He told me to say hi to you guys. But I'm curious how you got into it. You told us before we started recording kind of the genesis of how you guys met, but what kind of drove you to want to create the show together?
Good, right?
Great question. So it was, I wanted to do a podcast for a while. The name, The Lost Frequency, I actually had that saved for a while. I had it saved for at least a couple of years already, actually. And I wanted to do a podcast, and I wanted to do kind of based loosely on the confessionals, because I really think I really like, we'll say earlier Tony's programs. I feel it's kind of, he's straight a little bit personally. But that was what I wanted to do. And it's always been on the back of my mind. And, you know, I met Tom, and I don't want to say one of our first conversations, but some of our earlier conversations, I tell him about like, oh, the shit or the stuff that I see, and oh, I saw this and I saw that, and kind of freaked him out at first. But then he warmed up to it, and he liked my kind of weird, because he was kind of weird, and then we started talking about it.
I was already doing a podcast. I was doing a comedy podcast with my buddy. I started stand up in Germany. And we would just talk crazy crap on there. And I was like, yeah, I mean, and we just went to a park one day. We went fishing one day together, and we sat down, and we were just talking. And I just realized that we'd had this incredible like ability to like not cut each other off and keep it interesting. And at the same time, it just flowed. And I was just like, I don't know if it was me or you, but one of us was like, we should maybe do a podcast.
Well, I know I had said that because I actually had asked another guy as well, another guy from a different city, and I'd asked him, and then I had asked you as well, and he fell through because it was supposed to be, actually it was going to be a trifecta. It was going to be a trifecta. Is what I was going for, but it fell through, which looks like it turned out for the better.
Yeah, we tried that. We tried that too.
That's what I was.
Well, there was yeah.
I do have a question, Tom. How do you do stand up in Germany without mentioning a certain time period in history?
The thing it's very simple. You always mention it, but be clever. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, 1939, September 1st. You know what I'm talking about? I just started throwing some elbows.
Good times, everybody.
I don't know, man. I didn't really do that so much. Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, exactly. Good time.
A lot of my friends would do it. Like I had like all my friends were like from different parts of the world, like a Pakistani guy, an Indian guy, and they loved doing those jokes. And I'd always do whatever was on my mind. But I didn't do those so much unless they were really, really clever, from my point of view, clever. But to make the Germans laugh is really hard. So you know,
I can imagine that's pretty difficult. Do you still do stand up?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Because I had heard you talk about it.
I did it. I've been here for 2 years. I've done it once. I've done it. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a lag for people at home. I've done it once since I've been here, and I want to increase my Spanish ability. But the cool thing about Mexico is that the people do have a sense of humor, unlike the Germans. And if I think with simple hand gestures and my base of the language, I think I'll be able to do it. And I think I'll do really pretty well here. It's not a big community, but I actually know a couple comedians here already, and I'll get into it. I'm just busy doing this amongst about 1,000 other things at the moment. I'm also painting. I'm trying to do that. I'm building I got an off-grid property that I'm still trying to build houses on and all that. So I got a lot of things, what would you say?
A lot of
something
irons in the fire.
Thank you. I was going to say hot poker. I'll get there.
Got hot pokers in the fire. Well, technically it is, but yeah, irons in the fire.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. You'll have to share some videos or whatever whenever you start doing it, because I'm super into stand up. I've never done it myself, but it's one of those other things that I just kind of, I guess, connect with you
Okay.
on. I listen to the more comedy podcasts than I can think of.
I do have. Oh, me too. I do have 2 videos on my own personal channel. My name, Tom Franklin Art, and that's where I paint, like in speed painting. Like it's like I do oil painting, like Bob Ross, and it's very, very fast. So I just speed it up. So it takes, instead of 2 hours, I do it in, I don't know, like 8 minutes. And then on there too is some of my stand up. I think like 2 sets. One you can see me moving around. The other one I kind of like cut a good piece.
Do you speed those up too?
Sometimes, especially when I stink and bomb, but yeah. So you can hear some of it.
I'll share that in the description for this episode. I like to always put every link that I can, everything that I can share and promote. Great. So yeah, I'll throw that in the description when we upload this. Cool. But yeah, well, while we're on that subject, real quick, like who's like your top 5 comedians like all time?
Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Patrice O'Neill, Doug Stanhope, and Dave Attell.
Okay, yeah, that's a good list. Patrice in particular,
I thought about it. I thought about it for years. I love Patrice.
Is like, yeah, I want to make it out to one of the benefits that they do for him. I've never made it to one yet, but that's kind of like a goal of mine.
Yeah.
Years is to make it to one of those. But
I mean, my hero was always George. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. We have lots of time.
A big dumb hand.
I was just gonna say.
No, but just because the time lag, we're trying to time it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my heroes who kind of woke me up to like basically even get to the podcasting thing, because he was saying he was into Tony Miracle, which was his like #1 podcast when we met. Mine is Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli, who is a comedian and a conspiracy theorist and amazing at what he does. So like for me, George Carlin was just like, he just said things that just clicked in my brain a certain way, which made me think a certain way and made me like start to question a lot of things. And he's like one of my heroes, I mean, of all time. So yeah, comedy is a big thing for me.
I almost went to one of Carlin's last shows and we didn't go, and then he died. And every time that I am borderline on a decision, I think back to, man, I could have seen Carlin and I never got to. So I think I should probably move forward with this decision.
Seen him one time in 2005 in Baltimore. I've seen him in 2005.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, he's a critical thinker too. Like it's not a surprise that that's somebody that you like look up to and idolize, considering you've now shown, on your own show how critically you think about things.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's a great compliment.
Oh my god. I don't even know what to say to that. Thanks, Andrew. I mean, you're gonna hang out. I'll buy the beers as soon as I start making money. I am broke as a joke down here, dog.
I'm sorry that you had to be in Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh, dude, trust me. Every time I definitely look at my parents and like I look at them and go, couldn't you like, somewhere else,
But now that we kind of established that background, I wanted to ask Rye, ever since we started talking and I booked you, I wanted to ask about how you got into shamanism, like, because you've talked about it, and if you ever had an episode where you went into detail about it, that was one of the things that really jumped out at me, that was an area of study, and I think you had said that you did it in Canada as well. So, like, what is Canadian shamanism like?
Did they allow that in Canada? What is it, like flapjacks and syrup?
Yeah, maple, maple flavored shamanism, and a lot of apologies. That's how we roll.
That was good.
Hey, I try. uh, so that all became, I would say one of the main things of why I followed that path was growing up when I had a lot of these experiences that terrified me. Okay, so I had a lot of paranormal experiences that I was terrified. And what do you do in those situations? Even when I was a young adult, still terrified. What do? I don't know what to do. So it started off with me. I was starting to get really into the spiritual side of things. I guess the New Age, and now I think New Age is somewhat of a bit of a quagmire where it kind of catches people because they get stuck in this like, oh, light and love. But it's more than light and love. You got to look at the dark side, and that's where shamanism kind of stepped in. Shamanism is kind of more of taking a look at everything. It's all about the facets of as above, so below.
Hermetic principles.
Yeah, and it's about just it called to me is the best way to say it. Shamanism called to me in a way that nothing else ever has. And going into drum meditations, going into trances through drum meditations was fantastic. And what it gave me the strength and the knowledge to push back, and to know the difference between good spirits, helpful spirits, and these negative dark entities. And some of these entities, they think are maybe even demonic, aren't. They're just actual spirits that have been around for so long, and they've taken on this facade of trying to look like a demon, just to gain fear, to gain that, because it's kind of like what we talked about a lot, where there's a lot of Hollywood has a lot of soft disclosure where they show you something, and the same thing like Monsters Inc. People laugh at, it's like, oh, it's a kid's show. Well, there's truth to that. There's truth in these creatures gaining energy from fear. It's completely true. So I wanted to be able to, and I always reference Hellboy in this one when they said this quote, the things that go bump in the night, we are the things that can bump back. We bump back. And it's kind of, that is one of the reasons, and especially because of that shadow person that I saw floating over my bed, that I followed in the path of shamanism. Now, the path that I went is I started Reiki to begin with. And so I became a Reiki, eventually became a Reiki master, but I took my first degree in Reiki. And one of the masters, or one of the teachers, she was a shaman, like a shaman. She had learned in the Cherokee. She had learned the Cherokee way. And I forget what her teacher's name was. But so she said, I think you would be perfect for this. And was it a sales pitch? Possibly, but it was something that I felt drawn to. So I went and, I studied under her for a year, and learning the ways, medicine wheel, and, being gifted my own drum, and just being more attentive to the messages we receive from our creator, from the world that is in front of us. And that's another thing, is like, there are so many messages that are being sent to us, and we're just oblivious to it because we don't know they're actually messages. And this caused me to be more in sync with all that. Then after that, I started going to this sweat lodge, and I just became her, I don't know, protege. I don't want to say protege, but her helper, her firekeeper at the sweat lodge. I just went, and it wasn't like it was. There was an exchange that I was doing work for her, and she was teaching me. So that was not necessarily a shamanistic interaction, but she was a medicine woman, and she was teaching me her medicine. And at the end, she gifted me like there's 4, like you can be gifted native songs, and it was a gift from her to me, these native songs. So she gifted me 4 songs.
How long did she do that for you?
That was a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was like, I helped her construct her, like every year or every other year, you help to rebuild the sweat lodge, and you use willows, and you're bending them and forming them to create the sweat lodge. So we did that, and yeah, it was fantastic. And she was a great teacher and a great and she had some great medicine. She was Métis, and she was taught in the Blackfoot way of all these songs and all of her medicine. And she's still Asani. She goes by, like, her company name is Asani Healing, and she's a Sleeping Buffalo Woman is her name, but her real name is her I don't know. I guess this given name is Joanne Bean.
Cool. I'll have to look her up and check out some of the stuff that she has available online. Not to completely disregard everything that you got into, but let's talk more about the shadow figure that was above your bed. I mean, the shadow people are that's a topic that I've wanted to get into. I'm not sure if I see them or not, but I suffer from terrible sleep paralysis, and usually when I come out of it and I start to get some function back, there are shadows that kind of cascade, but they never take the form of like a figure or, you know, a silhouette or humanoid. So I'm not sure if I ever have experiences directly with like a shadow person, but it's definitely an area of interest that like kind of has like a deep seat for me. So was that just like a one-time thing, or were you just kind of plagued by it?
No, that was definitely a one-time thing. This one that I saw, and now I've had people say, "Oh no, that was sleep paralysis," and I've never had sleep paralysis, but I know it was not sleep paralysis and how it all transpired. So I had come home from being out with my friends. I was, and again, I can't pinpoint the exact age. I was between 17 to 19 years old at this time, because, you know, you're not really writing this stuff down at that time. You're not really like knowing I should document everything, which I do now. but at that age, I didn't. So I was between 17 to 19. I think I was more 17 or 18. Now, I had come home, and I say this every time because I don't know if it plays a part in all this, but I remember the Northern Lights were out and were very vibrant that night. And I was sitting outside looking at them, remembering this is amazing. Then I went to bed because I had to work in the morning. I worked at a grocery store and I had to be up early. So I went to bed, and lying in bed, I had my alarm clock beside me. And like most people do when you can't fall asleep, you stare at that alarm clock, figuring out in your mind, well, if I fall asleep now, I'm going to have, you know, like 7 hours and 13 minutes of sleep. Oh, now it's down to 7 minutes and, 7 hours and 7 minutes. And I was just watching the clock. I could not fall asleep for the life of me. So I was tossing and turning. And I look up above me. It just, I got this feeling I should look up, and floating above me, and I'd say about 2 to 3 feet floating above me, or 1 meter, was, you could see easily outline of a head, shoulders, and it went down to the torso. And now when it got to the torso, it faded into a white smoke. Now, I just backtrack a bit. This shadow that I saw was darker than black. Okay. So it was almost like if you see black behind us, it's kind of like a darker black superimposed on that. And so it kind of like sucked all the light, and this is what you focus on. Now, like I said, I could clearly see the head, the shoulders, and the neck and everything. And it was floating above me. Now, the scariest part that stands out about this was the eyes. The eyes were, and it was like P-shaped. So it wasn't like the full eye. It was the pupil of the eye were glowing red. And it wasn't like it was an ambiance, like it was like glowing, not shooting lights, not like a laser or something, but they were glowing red. And I laid there. And at that point, and then this is where everybody's like, oh, that was sleep paralysis. I was so scared that I did not move. I was just like, when they say scared stiff, that was that. That wasn't sleep paralysis. It was so scared I couldn't move. Now, at that point, it disappeared. And so it must have been there 2 to 3 seconds. And then it disappeared. It went away to nothing. And at that point, all I remember is waking up in the morning. So I don't know how long I laid there for, how much time elapsed. Could have been seconds and I fell right asleep. It could have been, an hour or two and then I fell asleep. I don't know. I lost track of time, woke up in the morning, and I'm like, oh shit, that was crazy. And you were
no, it's no, we'll do it off air. I just had an idea.
Okay. What, you're gonna float above me with
no. It's more of a marketing concept.
Okay.
Just came to my head.
That metric system stuff.
So yes, so that was a demon because so do I believe it was a demon or like a shadow figure as they call, or was it a ghost type entity? I don't know. Like I said, there are ghosts who can portray that they're a shadow person. Is it one or the other? I don't know. I didn't have the wherewithal at that time to really know the differences at that time. But I've never seen another shadow person like that ever again in my life. One thing to note, and this is something that I told this on Paranormal Roundtable, but I didn't tell them this part, was about 2 years prior to that, or a year prior to that, we brought a Ouija board into the house, and we were using a Ouija board. Now, I know there's other people who say, "Oh, it's a great communication tool." I completely believe otherwise. I believe that it is you're opening a doorway for something you don't know what's on the other side. Now, can it be good? Sure. Can it be evil? Yep. Do you know? No. There's no way for you to know because, a good spirit will tell you it's good. Bad spirit will tell you it's good. That's the way it goes.
So it's like the 1939 and the Gestapo. They come knocking on your door. You don't know who's on the other side.
Exactly.
Slid it in there. He got it in. Mission accomplished, boys.
I got it.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I've been doing this for a little while now. Come on.
Is there a like a shamanistic cleansing method that you could apply to a Ouija board that would, at least if it's in your possession, keep it from inviting any eldritch monsters or anything? Or are these boards specifically,
Well,
even if not in use, dangerous?
now, I believe once the portal has been open, it's open. Okay. So closing that portal would would be a certain type of ceremony that you're going to do. Now, one that I can't think of anything on top of my head. What I definitely would be thinking about is binding the box closed and putting salt all around the outside, and now binding the box closed. And what would you use? I don't know on that one. I definitely would be, if you're also like saging is something that everybody talks about. Oh, saging, and that does work, but there's much better methods of saging or knowing what you're doing when you are saging. When I sage, like there's certain levels. Like you can buy like the basic buffalo sage, and that is like your beginner level. Now you can up it to like mugwort, and mugwort is kind of like your extra strength. And then if you want to go further than that, when you're talking about like type of exorcisms, that's when you want to start including cloves into that. And I used to actually can create my own concoctions. I don't know. I want to say like an apothecary or something like that of things that I would burn whenever I was doing house cleansings, because people would hire me to do house cleansings of their homes.
You're doing like the fisherman's friends of sage.
Yes, exactly. The fisherman's friends of sage. So I would use that, and clove is something that is super powerful that you can use when you are burning like an incense. But you want to clear the house. You always want to, when you're clearing a house, you always want to do it clockwise. You want to start at the main entrance. You want to make sure you want to do every portal, which means doorways, windows, you're going to do it clockwise around them. Now, one thing that often gets overlooked is there are more portals than people actually believe, which are gateways. So there's doors and windows. Everybody just assumes doors and windows.
Laundry chutes, skylights.
Okay, but
Okay.
Mirrors, which we know, mirrors. Ouija boards are definitely a portal that needs to be.
Oh, you're
needs
talking
to be
about
closed.
cell phones and TVs.
And cell phones.
Oh, okay.
Cell phones are scrying. What do you think scrying is? When you look into a mirror, right, and you scry, well, you can pull someone up through that. I'm just talking to Tom on my cell phone, or I'm doing a video chat. In essence, it's scrying. It's a technological way of scrying. So any type of screens you have should all be cleared as well.
And I'm on the
I
other
only
side
cry
with
when
like
I
some
look
chicken
in the
bones
mirror.
and stuff.
Rolling your chicken bones and yeah. So yeah, those are the kind of things that you want to do. But with the Ouija board though, I never sorry,
No, it's okay.
never burn an artifact that has a demon or something attached to it. If you're burning any type of artifact or device that is attached to any type of negative entity, you just released it. You just kind of said, I'm going to remove this ball and chain, go.
We just had what was her name? It's not up yet, but
Ginger.
Ooh, wait till you hear that one, my friend. Ooh.
I'll look forward to it.
It's oof. I'm gonna tell you, it's oof. He understood crying when you said scrying.
What, sorry?
He said crying when you said scrying.
Oh.
That's why I caught that. JC, crying and scrying.
He doesn't need a mirror cry. He's usually always crying. He lives in Ohio, and his sports teams are terrible.
Come on.
The way the Steelers played the other day, I had to
taking
do
low.
something.
Yeah, they
blows
are
over
actually, ain't
here.
they?
We got Joe Flacco.
Oh, we got Steelers fans and Browns fans and Bengals fans.
I'm
Okay.
a
All right.
Bills fan, so
Yeah, I grew up outside of
four
Pittsburgh, so
Super
like, it's
Bowls
kind
in
of
a
just
row.
ingrained.
Boy, I love to lose Super Bowls. Okay, so I got you. All right. Well, that's fine. I guess I lived in Pennsylvania for a year. I was a Steelers fan for a minute. So I can't but when once Baltimore got a team, and I was 16 when they got a team, so I was like, this is my team. So yeah, that's my stuff. And this year we're doing very well.
Still leftover Browns.
I'm on the team.
yeah.
In the toilet.
I think
You'll rate the poopy humor.
Yes. I know I did.
I think the entirety of Baltimore needs an exorcism.
Yeah. We can start at Fells Point and work our way out.
Yeah.
By the way, that
it's a
definitely doesn't sound like sleep paralysis that you had experienced. But even if it was, I've done a lot of research on it because of how terribly afflicted I am. And, a lot of people that kind of are skeptical about some of the experiences that, we've had in this community. Despite what they say, there's actually not any concrete scientific evidence to support anything that anybody says about it. I've written so many papers about it in college. Like, anytime I've had any type of research paper, I've gone back to sleep paralysis. And so I've done like psych papers on it. I've done English papers on it. And there is nothing concrete about it at all. And I still lean towards some type of paranormal or clairvoyance or something out of this world or extraordinary is involved with it. I don't think it's as simple as chemicals, not clicking right in your brain while you fall asleep.
Yeah, he also never graduated, so grain of salt.
So here's
I am a chef for a reason.
So here's my here's a thought I have on sleep paralysis now, and because I've never had it, it's just a uneducated opinion on it, I guess, in a way. But I do think on dreams itself, dreaming, I feel that I have some forte in that one or some background. Now, do you believe that possibly sleep paralysis is caught between two worlds? So you're experiencing both worlds, and like, I know you're saying no, but when you're in your dream world, you're accessing so many other, in my opinion, so many other dimensions, so many other realities, so many other alternate lifetimes or like past lifetimes, future lifetimes. Now, is it possibly it's pulling some of those in together and they're being, you're awake and you yourself or the channel bringing these things in? I don't know.
I can only tell you from my experience, I've had it real bad.
Yeah.
For me, it was just an incredible amount of stress. And once I realized that I was very stressed out, and I started decompressing that stress and exercising and sleeping better, which was impossible because of the job I was doing, that it went away. It went away.
Yeah. And okay. I understand it went away,
really?
but I'm saying though, but what is it though? Yeah.
Well, speaking.
Okay,
personal
I know.
experience. I'm not trying to shit on you.
Stop it, I'm trying to give my opinion, and then you're like, I'm talking about
Ryan,
something
your
else. I got rid of it by
theories
reducing stress.
Just
No,
because you've had a lot of dreams. I don't know. It's fish. It's fishy, Tom.
it is. Fishy.
Yeah, for me, it was just a lot of stress. I one time it was so I was actually getting really, really dizzy. Like I told you this on our episode, I guess you would call it. I got up, I had a bed, and then like next to it was a space. And I remember getting up and getting real dizzy, and there was like this spiral portal that opened up, and I felt myself going into it, and then I fell down, and then I woke up in the bed, and you told me that I got abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
And it's freaked me the hell out. Remember that?
Yes, I
Thanks,
do.
Ryan.
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. See what I got to deal with, guys.
That's the type of enthusiasm though that
Andrew, what do you
gravitate.
believe sleep paralysis is?
Okay, so I don't have anything necessarily concrete, but something that I do think there is a stress factor. So I do think that there are underlying issues that some people might experience. But beyond that, I started to experience it as a child, and maybe it could have been the result of trauma. I definitely had traumatic experiences. At one point, I ended up living with my grandmother, and she basically raised me. So I can't,
Saint.
I can't scientifically
Yeah.
rule that out. But just with my research, like everybody all over the world that has this, like all tends to kind of have the like the same experiences. And so like again, does you can harken back to maybe humans just aren't that creative and our brains can only operate at a certain frequency. So Japan and the Celtic warriors were both able to imagine a dragon and put a dragon on a cave wall around the same time. So dragons didn't exist, but humans, even though they've never communicated with each other at the time, of course, both then painted a dragon. So maybe we're just painting dragons, but I have had increased level of, I don't know, scary things happening. I can remember my first one. I was around 4th grade, and I grew up a horror fan. And one of the first movies that I have ever seen in my life was A Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember seeing part 5 in theaters. I was, I think, 4 or 5 years old. I actually had to verify with my cousin that I was there and that it wasn't a false memory, because I can remember the glasses for the 3D effects that were in that movie and everything. And he said that we were there. So like 5 or under, I'm like watching these movies. And my first experience, like Freddy Krueger is there and he was present. So it's definitely like dream related, but what causes them? I don't know. Like I can definitely see something more paranormal to it for sure, but it's just I don't have enough experience. I think it's cool when I finally bump into somebody that has also had them. I've been wanting to do an episode with somebody that I know who has them through her sister is our friend, and she doesn't even want to talk about it. Like, she's so freaked out about it. But I'm just learning as I go. And for me, like, it was Freddy Krueger was the thing that was like my hag for the longest time. And then eventually it would happen, and I thought it was my cat that was on top of me, like stopping me from being able to move.
Now, I don't know if maybe I'm not experiencing sleep paralysis, dude, because for me, it's like I'm awake, but my body is asleep.
That's sleep paralysis.
Okay, but I don't feel like there's like an old woman straddling my chest.
But you still have sleep. But like that's one of them where there's a hag there, but you're still having sleep paralysis.
For me,
if you're awake and you can't freaking move, you're sleep paralysis.
Trying to drop a deuce on you or something. No, I'm just saying, like, I always felt like if someone would just touch my pinky, I would be fine. I would wake up, and like I'm screaming and I'm fighting, like, and then I finally get out of it. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay. All right, then I've had it, but I don't have a old sea hag on my chest.
Right. So what you're experiencing, many people feel is the kind of end stage of the paranormal encounter that you've just gone through. And so a lot of people, they kind of rationalize an old hag. And that's another thing. That's why I brought up the dragon, because, there are people who have never spoken to each other ever throughout all periods of the world who have been documenting this hag for when this occurs. And for me, it was never that. Like I said, it was Freddy Krueger. It was my cat. And then it eventually would always like coincide with a dream I had about being in this basement, finding this secret door. It's pitch black. I know there's something on the other side of that blackness that I don't want around. And it just gets me. And then that's when my screaming starts, where you're trying to wake yourself up. But like the entity then comes, and then I have like that hag scenario now where it's on top of me. And then I'm like screaming and trying to fight. But then I'm also paralyzed, and my wife hates it because then I almost always sound like a dying goat, almost like the way I'm trying to scream to like wake up. But
Yes.
like
Yes.
it just
you
always,
can hear yourself
yeah.
too. You can hear yourself
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. And
I'm
so,
not
like,
going to say anything, buddy. I'll let it go.
I don't experience stuff like
wait
this.
a minute,
like,
Rye. Are you trying to say
like
that I'm
last-
somewhere on the spectrum?
You're not the spectrum. You're not on the spectrum. You are the spectrum. But I don't have stuff like this. Like I had a dream.
Oh, thank you, man. I love you too. I love you too.
I had a dream the other night that I was with Kanye West and we were trying to go to a restaurant. We were just in his car. Like this is the stuff that happens to me.
Ugh,
Is that paranormal in itself?
that's a nightmare, isn't it?
No, the way Kanye's acting,
cool.
I think it would be very interesting to be hanging out with him.
No way, dude.
yeah, no, that guy's definitely had some kind
I
of
don't even know
brain shattering experience that you could get into for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not popular
I would
anymore, but
definitely.
he had a
What is
6-album
that?
run
When
that
the
was
CIA
incredible.
was.
I don't know, dude. I'm a metalhead. I just know of him, like peripherally.
What is that when they when the CIA was like brainwashing people? What do they call that?
Oh, God. We never get that up. Oh, Operation Jump into the Fire.
I don't know.
Operation
Can't think
Kanye.
of it. I know. Oh,
Do you
It
guys
always-
know
always
what is
fails.
that when the
Are you talking about Mockingbird?
when the
Operation
CIA is like brainwashing? There was no Mockingbird is when they infiltrated, which they did, all the media. But this is what MK Ultra.
thank you.
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah, MK Ultra. I think it was his MK Ultra breaking down, and then he
It
just
would
had
be
a
so much
breakdown.
better if they named it. I probably made this. If it was MLK Ultra, I would remember it. Like a Superman Martin Luther King combination. He like flies around. I would remember that. But
Well,
MK,
you
for
know-
some reason,
you know
I
the-
can't.
The K stands for Kanye.
Oh,
That's. I was gonna say that. I'm like, yeah. Michael Jackson and Kanye West.
Mike. Oh, MK. There it is.
Ultra. Yes, we know it.
I just thought it
We
was really-
cracked it. We cracked it.
I
That's
thought it was
it.
interesting
Game
you were
over.
talking about that you would reach like this shamanic level and being connected when you were doing drum circles, like you're drumming around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. I do a little differently, but I do that myself.
I got my drum here.
You got a drum?
Oh yeah, I
can
brought
bang
my
on-
I brought my
can-
drum
I
with
can
me.
bang on it.
Yeah,
I have
it's
a drum
a Buffalo High drum.
Oh, is that the one where you like hit with your palms and tap with your fingers at the same time?
No, those are like your bongo type drums. No, this is what's called a frame drum.
Is that the one with sideways?
Yeah. You have a handle in the back, like I have a bone handle in the back,
Oh, okay.
and you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. You get down with that when I play guitar or something. We'll start a band.
I actually have. No, I didn't. I was going to actually record myself on my own channel. I have some terrible videos on my own channel. We'll just keep that hidden, so no one needs to see that. But on my own channel, I
Look it
I
up,
was
guys.
going to
Look it
do
up.
a
Look it
drum
up.
meditation, but I never did.
That's funny. Curious, though, when did the sleep paralysis stuff stop for you? Because you did an episode, and I think it was really early on. You might not remember it, but it involved your sister. so maybe you will. Where she came on and she recounted having these experiences in the house, and you almost were reliving it and relearning it as she did the episode with you. So like you almost had like memories that had faded that kind of returned in real time on that episode. And so you definitely have had some kind of experience.
That was a whole different experience. Yeah. Yeah, that was my poltergeist experience that which happened to me.
Oh no, we lost them. We'll give them a minute here. Hopefully they can come back. We
In
just
the
lost
meantime,
them.
everybody check out the Techigy podcast.
I think they're back.
They're coming back in.
Yeah, that was my bad. That was bad.
Yeah, that was okay. Cut.
Yeah, we're good. We're solid.
What? Yeah, don't worry about it.
But maybe it fixed the lag. Is the lag
Yeah,
better?
but you guys are flipped now. There's a guy. Dude, what happened?
Wait, what?
Yeah. Maybe,
I'm on
we
top
had a-
now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're versatile on this podcast.
But I actually think it
I
fixed
think so, fixed the lag.
I think
We
it
had a
fixed the lag.
Oh, we'll be a little more better for
I just thought it was the
conversation.
knockoff Mexican internet.
Yeah. Don't you? No.
Yeah, most likely.
Internet
Very
off.
most likely.
That was
Well,
two different.
But I actually spent 2 hours running a cable up to. You can
I
actually see it
saw that
hanging.
behind there. Yeah.
Yes. So that is my
not licorice, ladies and
my
gentlemen.
Mexican internet cable that is now running. So we're hardwired. I'm officially hardwired, and
That's
we're hard.
the Cat 1 cable from like 2002 running up there.
exactly.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I didn't upgrade to the Cat 6. I went with the Cat 5, but
Isn't that's a hurricane, dude? What are you talking about?
that's a category. Category.
That was a different experience before Rye touched something and fixed it accidentally and made it awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sometimes when I mess up, I
You're
mess up
actually
good.
doing the right thing. The sleep paralysis and what me and my sister were talking about, that was episode 5, Leprechaun Lincoln. That was the poltergeist experience that we all shared when I was 8 years old. And the sleep paralysis, that came in later in life. I would say I had it sporadically in my 20s, and then it really hit hard in like my early to mid 30s. And then it went away, I don't know, about 10 years ago.
So you don't think that there might have been any kind of leftover like parasitic residue from the experience you had with the poltergeist at all?
I don't know. I mean, my dad's kind of a monster too sometimes. So I don't know, dude. It's just life, dude. I don't know. It always seemed to be like, I think a lot of times for me, it's like not looking at things and facing them. And that's what it was for me mostly. It was like not realizing what was in front of me, giving me the stress and not wanting to accept it. But the poltergeist affected me in other ways. Every time I would hear like a creak in the house, or you would hear like the door moving back and forth, maybe a window open, and just breezes moving. So, or like the house settling or something like that. That was maybe some type of PTSD, I guess you would say, involved in, I guess, post-traumatic stress disorder. But I don't know, man. I haven't talked to anyone about that. You can help me out with it. You always tell me I got something, ADD. He's been diagnosing me since we met.
I don't remember which episode, but I remember there was like one of your openings. You guys talked at length about him being ADD or something. I had just listened to it maybe a week ago. So.
It's more Rye, but he says I have something. And
no. You're completely ADD, and we discussed that. We came to a conclusion that yes,
but the one's more than the other.
What?
Isn't one more than the other? Isn't there like, okay, there's a spectrum, right? There's a wheel. Like
no, there's no wheel or spectrum. That's autism.
That's like
this is
right?
ADD. ADD is you have it or not, but maybe so you'll have some more ticks than other things. Like like we're sitting and talking the other day, and all of a sudden it's like boom, off into something else, and it was like, what? What are you talking about?
I gotta follow you too sometimes.
No. I know I do that. I know 100% I do that. And I'm like, see, Tom, you're doing the exact same thing. And then the other day, but the other day we had, as we're doing a interview, my daughter was kind of hanging out over here, but anytime she moved, Tom was like, squirrel. And I'm like, Tom, you're so distracted too. And I'm like, welcome to the club. Welcome.
I think it's contagious. Okay. I don't know what you put in my drink.
Not only am I the president of the ADD club, I'm also a member.
What is Mexico? So there already might have been stuff in the drink. So
Yeah, of course. Don't drink the water.
Definitely don't drink the water. I had.
That's a
I didn't drink it.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
No.
I never drank it, but even if you wash the dishes, that little bit of you got to let it really dry, and even then, like your body takes a minute to change. Because I came from Germany to here. I didn't go from the States there. I'm from Germany here, and I remember having diarrhea quite often when I first got here. I remember. Oh yeah, I was.
That's not the side of the tacos you're eating though.
It might have been. I don't know. But I was definitely I was saying and spraying.
So one thing with the issue with the water here is the high amount of calcium. Like that is huge. Like we used to say like the water where I live back in Canada and Calgary was really hard. The water was really hard. We're like, oh, it's really hard water. Nothing compared to here. Like your fixtures, like your taps, the aerators. That's where at the end of your tap, that little thing that
You got
makes
like
it kind of
stalactites forming on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like no, it plugs up. Like I would say about every month and a half, I have to clean it because otherwise you get less and less and less water. It's just like, okay, time to pull it apart and clean it. And then all your plumbing fixtures are pretty much disposable. You gotta have that in mind because the water just destroys everything. The P trap underneath one of my sinks, I had left it for we moved into the house. It was sitting for like 6 months.
That was a P trap.
That
thing the elbow.
It's a P trap. That's not an elbow.
That's what I'm going with.
It actually traps the gas. It traps the sewer gas from actually entering into your home.
So it traps this pee smell from coming in.
Yes, it does. And it had filled. Half of it was full. It was a rock of calcium. It formed calcium in the bottom half of it. It just was sitting there. That's how crazy it is.
And so for all of our listeners, Lost Frequency and the Sasquatchers, this is plumbing.
Welcome to Plum Watchers.
I don't know anything about plumbing. My bathtub hasn't worked in a year because I can't.
Okay. So
we can tell.
I think it's time to let the cat out of the bag. My first profession, I was a journeyman plumber for almost 15 years. My dad had his own business for almost 40 years, his own plumbing business. So you're
right. You got like this Super Mario thing going on where you're like jumping from
but you know what I find is kind of unique is there is actually a fair number of paranormal investigators who are plumbers. It's kind of interesting.
And also no, I'm not going to say this. A certain kind of star.
That one's over my head.
It's a me, Mario.
I think I'm getting Mario, but I don't know.
Gotta hit that dusty road.
But I'm the better looking unknown brother called Stario. Oh, that was lame. That was a failure. That was a failure.
He thinks he's better looking than me. That's the first mistake. Anyhow, so guys, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, we're gearing up. That's still 6 months away, but one of the big things that we have planned to try to grow the show and grow the community and even locally out here, we are organizing a Squatch hunt. And I hate to use the word hunt, but that's just like the terminology. Like we're going out, we're gonna
hunting big,
have an excursion. We're not going out with grenades and landmines or anything like that.
Wrong. We are.
we are doing the Squatch camp, and that's going to be in June. And everyone in the world who wants to come and participate, they're invited. It's gaining a lot of steam locally, but we even have some friends of the show that are coming in from. We have two from Ohio, including John, but also somebody else, and we have a friend that's coming in from Indiana, and we might have somebody flying in from Nevada if we're lucky enough. So that's going to be cool. I've never had an experience with Sasquatch or anything like that. This might be it probably won't even be a surprise because it took 2 months to get a Sasquatch episode in that I don't have a lot of experience or knowledge about it. It just
I'm really
was a
I'm really
catchy
disappointed
title.
that we finally popped that Bigfoot cherry. I wish we would have.
Are you
wish we
guys
would've
going
held
up
off
to
on-
the? Are you guys going to go to the? I know I can't remember the name of it, but in the north of Pennsylvania, there's a huge national park up there. Are you guys going up there?
We're not
Forest?
go.
Or Allegheny National Forest? Is
The
that
Allegheny National Forest. I heard that place is pretty spooky, dude.
There's a couple of activity. I don't know, bed marks. Is that the word? I'm not sure. Out in that area, we talked to one of the guests we had. His name was Daniel Hagman. He runs this big organization here in Pennsylvania, and he had kind of pointed us out in that direction and invited us out to do something in spring too. So we're going to be out running around the woods, trying to,
I like it.
I don't know, find something out there, and hopefully, if nothing else, a good time. But
I mean, if
once
we don't
we-
find Sasquatch, we're gonna find ourselves in each other.
right, and then
That's
after
crazy.
that,
There's no Bigfoot here. Did I know?
hopefully maybe some ghost hunting that we can go out and get some experience. We talked real briefly the other day on Facebook about that. That's something that I'm
Yes.
very curious about doing and getting involved with.
Live.
Well, I was thinking, like, imagine doing like a live event where we're here doing a ghost one, and Andrew and JC are doing theirs in
Oh
their,
my god!
and kind of like could there possibly like be, I don't know.
And you know what the most spoken sentence would be during that whole event?
What?
What was that?
Did you hear that? What was that?
Yeah.
Is that on your side or our side?
Yeah, we don't know. I heard a howling. I think it could have been a phantom.
We should
I don't
do
know. Yeah. But down here, you're gonna. Ooh, that's weird. Why is there no Bigfoot down here? Because they don't like the desert, or like what are they?
I think there probably is. I think there probably is a good chance of being something like
'Cause
that.
we have
But it's
some
just so
crazy
much jungle,
forest.
though. It's so much jungle. It's crazy. But like here, the more prominent stories are Aleutians. That is the number one thing that keeps coming up are the little people, not the Duende, not the. Well, you talk about there is Duende, but the more is the Aleutians, which are more of like dwarf size, like
2.5, 3 feet tall.
2 to 3 feet tall. Yeah.
And but I've been running into some stuff out there where I am. So
I've never heard of that. You bump into that out there in the jungle where you're setting up your property?
I bought 10 acres out there, and I keep having
Things
happen. That's been very strange. Like I have a metal roof, and there's I woke up to top happened twice. Shining above my daughter's hammock one time, I seen a light, and then I go to look for the source, and it disappears. And another night,
I wouldn't say a light. I would say an orb. I would
it
call it
wasn't
an
an
orb.
orb. I didn't see a circle. I didn't see an orb, but it seemed like the glowing on it. Like it was a circle, but it wasn't.
Oh, so
3D.
it was almost someone like with a light shining up,
Right,
it was like 2-dimensional.
Yes.
Oh,
So
interesting.
But you
we're
don't
thinking
see the
we're
source.
thinking they're aliens or just like little people.
Well, this not being a louche, though. This is just Tom seeing stuff on.
Seeing stuff.
Yeah.
And then I go to look for the source again because one time it was on the ceiling, one time it was vertical on the wall, and I keep looking for the source of light and it disappears. And then
And it's at night, though, right? It's all
about
dark.
3 a.m. each time. And then behind me in my hammock outside the cabin, about 30 yards, 40 yards, like on my left side, I hear a voice, and it's like muffled but talking. It's feminine. And I also had a rock thrown at me one time out there, which also is a very typical Aleutian.
That's typical louche
situation.
How do you
And
spell that?
ALUX, and then plural is you add an ES onto that. So ALUX.
yeah, ALUX, yes.
We'll have to
Aleutians.
research, do an episode
Yeah,
on it.
I've not heard of that before.
We had Juan from the One-on-One podcast. He talks about homunculuses all the time, which are like creations, right? That humans create these, we'll say entities. Okay. And we had Moises, Tom's friend Moises, come on, and he talked about that. This was prior to Juan. He had Moises on when he was like, what was it? The Dreamtime Demon or something like that.
Yes.
And he talked about the creation of Aleutians, where it's like a 9-day long process where you're feeding it corn, you're feeding it water and blood, and then you're projecting your intention of what you want this to do, this creature to do. And you create it with with clay, and what they're usually meant to do is to like protect the land, protect your area, kind of thing. And
So this is almost
in
like
essence, it's a
like a
homunculus as
golem.
well.
It's a very
Kinda, yeah.
Kind of, yeah, because golems are you can create golems out of clay and whatnot. But yeah, so it is like that, just smaller. Like everybody pictures golems as these large creatures, but this is something that's usually anywhere between 1 to 3 feet tall.
So this year, Obrador
naked.
posted
And
a
naked,
photo
childlike
on,
looking cherub.
like a
posted a photo
cherub.
on his Twitter claiming that he had spotted a Alush by an engineer working on a rail project. So
Who is that?
This Obrador, the
Yes.
sitting president of Mexico.
Yes, that was right
Oh.
down here.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
That's,
yes,
okay.
they're
This is the train, the
Train
train
Maya.
Maya. That
Train
would be for
Maya.
the train Maya.
they just opened it. Just opened it.
Yeah. And so that is to open up the kind of like the Yucatan Peninsula kind of everything. It's more for like adding like tying in all these places, all these tourist places, and getting it's a pretty cool train where it's all going to stop. And that's like, you guys saying you're having an event. That's one thing we want to do. We've talked about it. Of course, it's not in the works or anything like that. We want to have like an event where we can take people out to these archaeological sites, these pyramid sites.
Yep.
And maybe if we get some better connections at maybe some of these really old locations or houses, and bring some people into some ghost hunting experiences as well. But that's just something we're just kicking the can around.
Yeah, right now we're just trying to build up the stuff, but there's a lot of witches here and shapeshifters and other things. Because Appalachia, you guys are in the middle of Appalachia, and that in the forest out there, things will call children in, and there's a lot of like owls and witches. And
Things call
weird
me.
Yeah. Wendigos. I know
they
a guy
call
that
you.
lives like 2 hours from me who has a serious Wendigo problem, and there are people that I was trying to get onto our show that live in that same like building that he does, who immediately were like, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want it to think it's invited back. I don't want to even like. So yeah, that's definitely a thing out here.
That's very similar to like the flesh pedestrians, right? Those that shall not be named.
Flesh pedestrians.
Yes, no one talks about them. Don't say that word. Which I
Camión de piel.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was my Spanish. Really bad.
Well, guys, we hit that hour mark. I don't really like to keep guests much longer than that, but before I let you guys go, since you're down there in the area, I want to maybe get like a firsthand account.
Do they have Baja Blast down there?
That's an important
Baja
question.
Blast. Is that like a Mount? I was about to say, is that a Mountain Dew flavor? Great. That was a great guess. No. So, because the Baja, of course, is on the other side of Mexico, but yeah, Mountain Dew isn't a big thing here at all. It's more like, and you're gonna laugh at the name. It's more like Squirt. Squirt is like the.
Oh no, Squirt's huge here.
We have
Squirt's
Squirt up
huge
here too. Yeah.
Okay. So Squirt is huge.
Squirt,
but
Coke,
Coke,
Pepsi,
but Coke is
Fanta.
king here. Coke is king.
Cake's king.
What's the apple soda down there called?
Manzanita or
Manzana.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
It's I know little kids have it. If it's the last thing left and I'm thirsty, I'll drink it. But
It's good with like vodka though.
Okay. Or maybe tequila.
tequila.
It might be a little
Tequila,
better.
yeah.
Squirt and tequila and a little bit of
That's how long it's been since I've been to the state.
salt is great.
The only two Mountain Dew flavors I know are the regular
and red.
Code red. And everything
Code
else, I don't know
Red.
anything about it. I don't know anything about what
Surge,
you're talking
what
about.
was the Drew? What was the one that was like Surge?
Oh man,
The
I know
green.
exactly
It
what
was
you're
like the
talking about.
green and black Mountain Dew.
And
I
man,
seriously don't know.
I know there's
remember.
blue. There's a blue Mountain Dew too.
There is
I
a
thought.
blue one that's like lightning or something, isn't it?
High voltage.
High voltage. That's it. Yeah.
Who knows?
Now, I'm a Mountain Dew guy. Every time there's a new flavor, I drink it. So
Anyways, I've
Um,
massively sidetracked this.
what I was gonna ask,
it's like squirrel. Hey, that's okay. That's what we're. Yeah. So what were you gonna ask, Andrew?
what I was gonna ask is what is the general consensus in that area with all of the congressional alien stuff that had gone on a couple of months ago?
I didn't follow it as much as I should have, but
Okay, so a lot of people don't bother themselves too much with that here. Now, the most things that talk about, like as soon as you start, oh, is that us? Oh, there we are. We're back. We're on. I don't know if that was us,
Yeah.
but we're missing
Your
JC.
video
Are you
started to lag a bit. No, he disappears all the time. His dog probably jumped up.
No problem. And we're even hardwired, so it could be my computer. I don't know. But okay. So one of the issues, like one of the things is not many people, UFOs aren't really a big thing here. That being said, like there's been some video submerging into the water here or coming out of the water. I can't remember which one it was, just off the coast here, like right from the street, someone, because like our city that we live in is a fisherman village, more or less. Like it was officially a fisherman village, but then of course it expanded, but or fisherman city. But you can stand right at the wall and there's the ocean, and it was videoed a UFO flying in or out of the water. So I think that's what they call a underwater USO. Now, not so big here with the congressional hearings, with what a lot of people are like, oh, those are paper mache kind of things. What's bigger is people just talking, like if you mention anything about paranormal or anything like that, what they come up with is just Alushas, shape changers, which we would call, of course, skinwalkers. But there's people who are like brujas or brujos.
Possession is a big thing here.
Yeah, there's a lot of exorcisms.
A lot.
And the shape changers are big. Like you go and you pay someone to go spy on your ex, because their jealousy is huge. Jealousy is huge here, and people will transform. They say they'll transform into a dog, like a black dog or a cat even, and they'll go spy on your ex or your lover or whoever, and keep tabs on them.
That's super interesting. I love that. Like, all it takes is like a culture shift, and something like that is just like kind of so openly talked about, versus up here, like nobody's talking about that in the streets of in Pennsylvania.
It's getting there.
Yeah. It's and another thing is like one big thing a lot of people talk about is the chupacabra. A lot of people, when they think Mexico, they think chupacabra, like it's synonymous. But if you talk about it here in this area, we'll say in the Yucatan Peninsula, people laugh at you. They think it's a joke. They're like, that's just a story that doesn't exist. And it's huge. I'm like, well, no, but I've seen some reports, or I've watched videos, and they're like, nah. They all laugh at it.
I'm going to make a very awful joke, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think Pennsylvania is where Dracula writes his memoirs.
Ooh.
You wouldn't be wrong. It's dark, dreary, and very often boring.
Pennsylvania.
Anyone who lives in Pennsylvania is gonna laugh their ass off at that, actually.
Okay. Shout out to all places in Pennsylvania.
You're pretty good with the puns, though.
I actually wrote that a long time ago and never brought it to stage.
There. They brought it to stage, and this is your first
in
attempt.
Germany, and then it flopped.
Yeah, they just didn't get it.
No, they had no idea.
Just like here.
But we're hit that like hour and 12 mark. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. And
no problems.
Before I do that, I'm gonna the floor is yours. Literally anything you want to talk about, promote, get any eyes on, you go ahead. And once you guys are done doing that, we'll hit our cool little outro button, and we'll check the outro that I made yesterday. And
all right.
And from there, we'll just grab you for a couple more seconds to make sure all of the audio and video is good. But
100%.
Lost Frequency Podcast, guys. Check them out, and go ahead.
Yeah.
The floor is yours with your links.
All right. Yeah. So of course you can be found on YouTube, the Lost Frequency Podcast, or Facebook group, the Lost Frequency Podcast. We also have Ko-fi, where we do have a couple of we have one bonus episode and a couple extended episodes, and we have like tiers. Ko-fi is exactly like Patreon. It's for the person who, for us on our side, if you guys ever open Ko-fi, it's kind of like, it's better for you. You don't have to pay as much as the fees. So that's why we went with Ko-fi. But
and you can always contact us. If anybody got any crazy stories, you can also contact these guys. But you can contact us at the Lost Frequency Podcast at gmail.com. And just hit us up on Facebook. You guys, we're always open for stories. We're always open to listen to anybody who's interested in listening to us, and we really enjoy being on the show, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You guys are great, and
You actually, it
good
was a
laugh.
different kind of interview. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was very
Yeah,
free
thank
flowing.
you.
Yeah,
It was
very
and
relaxed.
I feel like we're on the same level of like humor too, so it's not.
Yeah, you were just.
Yeah.
I know. I can totally see when you said like I'm Andrew and you're JC, and I'm
Because
like,
the
yeah,
whole time in
that's
the
exactly
background,
it.
JC in the background is just sniping the whole time. He's like, oh, but he never graduated college. Bah, your grandma. Bah. I was just like, what is going on?
Drew knows. I've known Drew for quite a while. We know each other, and this is how we hit each other. So
Yeah, no, it's better. When
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
it was
younger,
fine.
we used to hit each other with chairs and stuff. So like, this is a lot better.
WWE
Yeah,
style.
I was gonna say.
actually, yes,
Yeah.
we did. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
Fantastic.
I'm
I love
actually a failed professional wrestler as well. That's what originally started
Emphasis
my neck.
on failed.
My
Is that what happened to your
problems.
neck? I was
Yeah.
gonna
It's one of a couple.
Oh.
One of a couple of things. So I got hit by a Mack truck in 2011, and that pretty much took away all mobility. I had 17% mobility of my neck. I waited 8 years after that. Now, mind you, I'm in my 20s, so I sought no medical treatment. Then I became a pro wrestler very briefly. I passed a tryout. I lasted maybe 6 months. They told me I wasn't allowed to bump anymore because my neck was so bad. And that's not something you ever hear in wrestling. Like
True.
you're people wrestle injured all the time. So I tried to cheat. I went to a chiropractor to get like a quick doctor's note to say that I was cool to go back and get thrown around. And he told me he wouldn't do that, that I had to go. And his exact words were, you have to go see a real doctor because your neck is that messed up. And then I waited until September of 2023 to have the surgery. So yeah.
Well, did you open up? Did they open you up like one of those Pez dispensers? What happened?
Well, yeah, actually, that's exactly what they cut me open right here,
No
split my
kidding.
throat, moved everything over, took
Wow.
3 discs out, and they put their hardware in, and then they cut fragments out of my shoulders to take the bone and graft it on top of that. And that's why I have to wear the that one device to kind of increase blood flow to that area to make it heal faster. But when we were younger, we used to hit each other with chairs. So just
Yeah.
puns about all of my failed attempts at moving forward in life are okay too.
Younger
I
as
think
in
that's-
we had a show in 2016, so it hasn't been that long.
I think it's very important. I think it's very important to have that because you guys seem to have the same thing that we have. Like we have that rapport, like that. Rye's very good at he has his theories. He thoughts. I do too. And we just kind of zing one another and then talk crap, and it makes because we do speak about very heavy topics. Things that are
Right.
very things where people are so afraid to talk about. What was it? The duende? What was the
No,
duende? What was a rake?
No. That was
The other one, the crazy one, the deer, the stand-up deer. I can't remember the one in Pennsylvania, 2 hours away from you.
Wendigo.
Guys. Wendigo. Thank you.
Thank you.
And he goes, I don't even talk about it because it brings it might happen again. And I understand that fear. But like if you guys to do what you're doing, to he's over there looking at God knows what with his hands on his chin like this and singing. It's going to work out, dude. You guys are actually a lot of fun. I think I'm actually going to. Oh, I'm definitely going to subscribe, and I think.
But you're not already subscribed?
No, dude. I just found out about you like 2 weeks ago, and I'm busy.
2 hours ago.
No, it's not true.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, because I told you.
Yeah, because you told me. Yeah, but yeah, dude, we really appreciate you guys having us on.
I enjoyed it.
It was like such a different way of talking to us, and we really liked it. And I think you guys are going to be very successful at what you do.
Awesome. I hope even a fraction of that is true. And
Probably not,
but this episode of this podcast is proof that if anybody listening just reaches out, they contact, they keep in touch. That's literally how this came to fruition. Was I sent a message on Facebook, and here we are. So everybody, please check them out. They're awesome dudes. I do not put people in my rotation lately, and they have been in my rotation since the day I found them. Everybody should be listening, and any links, they're going to be included.
We
we've had
totally
very-
appreciate that.
We've had very serious conversations with Roman Catholic priests. We take this very highly.
We have.
Wow,
Part of
that's
the diocese
interesting.
on
That's
the
interesting.
5th episode. So 4th episode.
Okay,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah.
It's actually a good one. Father Lampert. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
Look, he has a book. You guys could reach out to him. He would definitely.
Father Lampert. Oh, sorry. When I hear the name Lampert, I think of Lampert, the sheepish lion. Lampert.
I think
He's
I
I think he
always
would
crying.
appreciate that if you sang it to him.
No, not at all.
I'm thinking of like National Lampoon. I don't know what that's.
But all right, guys, thank you for being on the show. Without further ado, here's my super bad A outro.
Why is it only in the middle of the screen?
Nice wordplay there.
That was I'm surprised it didn't kick us off either. That was interesting, but I liked it. I like it. It's nice and lively.
I'll tell you what, if you ain't scared
Yeah.
about what we're talking about, that outro will definitely get you.
Definitely.
Dude, I was getting all nervous.
I like
All
it.
right,
I did. like,
everybody.
It reminds me of like 80s, like
like a
or
Nintendo
90s,
game,
maybe
like
like
a Nintendo
90s.
game.
No, I was like maybe Nintendo game, but more like 80s, 90s retro. Definitely, it's got that vibe.
Yeah, that's what I was
Sorry.
going for. That he asked why it only took up part of the screen. It's because that's the 6:9 VHS.
There
aspect
we go.
ratio. So.
Yes.
It's actually
100%.
user error, but
True to-
he's now covering. So.
True to
It
form.
wasn't- it
Yeah,
wasn't
true to form.
human error
Sounds
at
like
all.
me.
All right, thanks everybody.
Awesome.
You saw it on the tape, but I'll say it again. Thanks for squatching.